Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Hurry Up Live. This is your host, Adam. Let's go! It's go time, baby. So, what do I got packed? What do I got for you today? Well, today we're talking about Giants and the OTAs and what's going on around the league. Okay, and basically, I want to say this to start off. OTAs are going on. A lot of good stuff happening. This is where they get to do a lot of different line combinations. What do I mean by that? Well, there's a report that the starting offensive line was Corey Cunningham, Shane Lemieux, John Feliciano, Mark Lewinsky, and Evan Neal. Some people might panic, but they're probably just giving Andrew Thomas a rest day, right? So don't panic at some of these reports. Don't overanalyze them. The real stuff will happen come what's going on, Logan? Come July. That's when you really need to start to buy into the reports because that's when the hitting goes on, when the pads go on, man. Right now, everybody looks good. I look good. You look good. We all look good in shorts and a t-shirt. It's not about the shorts and the t-shirt. It's about what's going to happen come September 11th when the pads really go on and the bullets fly. Now, I want to get a few things off my chest. First off, the optimism. People think that I'm negative Nancy over here. I'm not negative Nancy. I'm just realness. Sometimes realness slaps you in the face, because I'm not going to be all rainbows and butterflies for all you guys. I'm going to be real. R to the E to the A to the L. Real. Okay? And sometimes that realness can be misconstrued as negativity. And I'm not trying to be negative. I'm an optimistic person about the season, but I've been down this road before with the Giants. Many years, many times. This ain't no different, This ain't going to be look at what happened with Ben McAdoo, right? He went 11-6, and next year they had injuries. They couldn't even field a good football team. This year is not about the wins or the losses, folks. It's about building the foundation to become a winner. Okay? That worst to first shit is built. That's what the NFL is built on. But you want a sustainability. Look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've been good for a long time, fighting for playoffs, in and out of wild card games. They're good, right? Patriots, same thing. And here's the interesting part about the Patriots I want to bring up real quick. Is when they draft players, they don't draft players on strength alone. They draft players on usability. What does that mean? They're not drafting players because the guy's measurables fit a criteria. They're drafting guys that fit whatever their mindset is and their program is, right? That's why the Wes Welkers, the Danny Amendolas, the Julian Edelmans worked, right? That's why a lot of these Patriot players, when they go someplace else, don't work out. Because Bill Belichick knows how to utilize the players that he needs to utilize to build that team. Look, they had Mac Jones last year starting, and they made the playoffs, okay? They made the playoffs. And that type of coaching is what we need. I think the Giants right now have a guy in Dable, well, two guys, in Dable and Shane, who are really navigating this ship back towards respectability. I'm hoping in the next decade, or let's be shorter, in the next 5 years, the Giants are at least fighting for a playoff spot, if not fighting for a Super Bowl in the next 5 years. I'm going to give this rebuild a 2.5-year process because I think what's going to happen is, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll eat some crow. I don't really give a damn. I'm not here to be right, right? Too many people want to be right. Oh, I told you. Yeah, well, it's easy to be right when you talk out of both sides of your mouth, right? Easy. When you say both things. Well, you say it's going to rain and it's going to be cloudy. Great. Well, is it going to be cloudy or is it going to rain? Oh, it could rain, but it also could be sunny. That doesn't tell me anything. That just tells me you're not willing to pick what it's going to be. You don't want to be wrong. I don't care about being wrong or right. You can come at me if I'm wrong or right. I don't care. Because I'm like, all right, well, you're right. Or right, you're wrong. This year is about building the foundation. Think of a house. We don't want a house of cards. We don't want to fall in on ourselves because we got this bravado about us. Yes, there's optimism. I'm optimistic. I love it. I'm glad the Giants are heading in the right direction. Heck, I was the guy that told you they would fire Joe Judge and, blew back on me. I was like, oh, why would you do that? He fixed the Keurig machine and added the water thing. There's a culture. And I'm like, no. Now, I'm going to give this 3 years to see what Joe Shane and Brian Dable do. And I hope that they have success. I'm telling you, this reminds me of the regime change that happened with the 1997 team with Coach Jim Fossil. And I wouldn't be surprised if that type of success happens with Dable. Okay. They had a quarterback, from Duke, who they were, put a lot of eggs in that basket because he was a supplemental draft pick. They took him, even though they had Phil Simms in the supplemental draft. I think it was in 93. Let me look it up for you. Let me get the actual facts for you because I don't want to blow this up. I think it might have been 92. Dave Brown was his name. Wow. If you remember Dave Brown, damn, Dave Brown pictures comes up and Daniel Jones is under his pictures. It's crazy. Oh man, they got a mistake in here. So he was drafted in round 1 in the supplemental draft, which means the Giants had no first round pick in 1993. So and he has about the same numbers as Daniel Jones already, which is kind of ironic, right? He lasted about 5 years here. Daniel Jones, you're on the same pace right now, but you better pick it up, boy. But Dave Brown, right? He was brought in. Fossil was brought in 97 to help the guy they spent this money on, this quarterback out of Duke, who's a little bit promising. He had some highlights like Daniel Jones. He had highlights where he was throwing the ball downfield, scrambled, doing the exact same thing. Daniel Jones is almost a carbon copy of Dave Brown. They're in the same boat in my eyes right now, right? Daniel Jones might have a little bit more talent, but they both were first round picks. And so it's just funny to see that, this quarterback is falling under the same umbrella. Anyways, in 97, they brought in Jim Fossil, just like Brian Dable, to revive a quarterback who they deemed could be good, just needed the right guy. And even Dave Brown will tell you that Dan Reeves' offense didn't help him in his maturation process. It didn't help him grow in certain aspects of his game, right? Because the offense was very archaic. It was very old school, right? Very old school, right? So with that being said, you don't want to push the envelope too much. But they brought him in because they're like, oh, we have a franchise quarterback. And trust me, I was doing the same thing that people were doing about Daniel Jones in these conversations that I was doing with Dave Brown. I was in middle school early on. And, I tried to believe in the guy. But every time I tried to believe in the guy, he would do things to hurt you. Right? And in 1997, I'll tell you this right now. 1997, he had a solid year starting out. First 5 games, hit over 1,000 yards, which at that time was a lot for him. And he was playing decent football. The Giants were off to a winning record and decent football. Then he got injured his elbow or something in his arm. And Danny Cannell, the great Danny Cannell, came in behind him to replace him for the next year or so. And so for me, that's what this regime reminds me of. Jim Fossil coming in, an offensive guru from Arizona who made Boomer Esiason in the twilight of Boomer Esiason's career and Kent Graham look like starting quarterbacks. When Jim Fossil actually got a quarterback he liked, Kerry Collins, the team thrived. Okay? The team thrived. Now, this brings me to some things I want to talk about now. One is, before I get to DJ, actually, let me get to DJ right now, because let me get that off my chest. That's another thing that people need to understand. I don't hate Daniel Jones. What I hate is that we mask the fact that he has struggled in his first 3 years. I hate the fact that people want to say, well, the offensive line and, they didn't do him right and blah, blah, blah. John Mara comes out and says one thing and everyone runs with it. No. Daniel Jones is also part of the issue. Okay, there are issues with him that he needs to correct. And we haven't seen him correct that in 3 years. Okay, and I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer with the kid. I don't care if he does well, because honestly, at the end of the day, I support him, but I don't think the Giants are going to pay him $30 million next season, regardless of his season. He needs to be like a top 10 quarterback to get that money. You're going to have $40 million tied up into two quarterbacks on the roster? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think this is an audition for him. Hope he does well. But there's, and listen, he has talent. Okay, do I think he has top 6 talent? No, I don't. Because if you look at another guy, a guy that the Giants were in love with. There was actually 2 guys the Giants were in love with. They were in love with Sam Darnold, but they didn't pick him. And they were in love with another quarterback from Oregon, who I happen to absolutely love. Goldilocks himself. Look at this. Look at this. Justin Herbert has 9,000 yards. He's played. He was picked number 1, 6th overall at the exact spot that Daniel Jones has played. 6th overall. Okay? He has 8 rushing touchdowns already. He's already thrown for 9,000 yards in 2 seasons. 2 seasons. He went to the Pro Bowl last year and was NFL Rookie of the Year. NFL Rookie of the Year. Okay? We have Daniel Jones here, or Dan Jones, as I like to call him. Daniel Stephen Jones III. Oh, all right, well, he's still 24 years old, which is kind of funny how young Daniel Jones is. So that's why I think they're also keeping him right now, too. It's because of his youth. Because look at Herbert's already 24. So Daniel Jones has been in the league a year or 2 longer than him. And, is also 24. But Daniel Jones has 8,000 yards. 8,000 yards, 5 rushing touchdowns in 3 seasons. Justin Herbert, who was picked in the same spot as him a year later, has already been to the Pro Bowl, okay, won Offensive Rookie of the Year, has 9,000 yards, and has thrown 69 touchdowns and 29 interceptions, while Daniel Jones has 8 rushing touchdowns. While Daniel Jones has 45 touchdowns and 29 interceptions in 3 seasons. The only thing that he has better is he has extra seasons. He's 1,000 yards rushing, so that's good for Daniel Jones in that regard. That's a good stat. That hopefully will help him this year when he goes. Look, Daniel Jones has a lot of work to do, and I'm not trying to be here and say screw Daniel Jones, blah blah blah. I just give it to you real. People don't like realness because when you give them real stuff, it hurts them, right? It hurts their back. It hurts their back. You know what I'm saying? It hurts that what they have. You know what I mean? It hurts everything about them. It does. It makes them feel bad. Because you're pointing out flaws that are not supposed to be there. And it's like I get it. It's like having a kid, right? And a kid, the teacher telling you your kid is struggling in these areas. And you're like, that's not my kid. He can't be struggling in these areas. We do this and the other thing. And you want to blame the teachers and the schools and everything. But meanwhile, your son or daughter or your child may have a disability that you need to look into further and figure out to fix. The only difference between a player and a kid is sometimes you can give up on a player easily. But what I'm saying is that we, in the context of this argument, we tend to not want to hurt Daniel Jones, right? And hurt his feelings. He's a grown-ass man. He's playing in the NFL. This is the reason why we got him here. Because people said that he could take the criticism. But now when we want to criticize him, or certain part of the fan base want to criticize him, people get all up in arms and go, "Rah, rah, rah, rah." You can't do that. That's our quarterback. I'm like looking at it like you can do that because this is the NFL. This is what you do. This is how you do it. This is how you do things. You don't just do them to do them. You make sure that you get, that you can have a fair conversation, because that's what you're trying to do. Have a fair conversation. A conversation that allows us to have a dialogue to figure out what is wrong with Daniel Jones. Not that he's bad. Everybody, listen, you want him to do well. Everybody does. Everybody does. And that's fine. He does well, great. The Giants are doing well. But at the same time, is he the guy you thought he was? Is he a number one quarterback? I mean, we want to hope so. Do I believe so? I don't know. I mean, I can't say yes or no because he hasn't shown me anything. At me, personally, I would have moved on from him already and said, see you later. And I would have just had Tyrod Taylor start this year and see where the chips fall and said, all right, see you later. And then knowing that the quarterback class is going to be a little deeper next year, that's when I make my run for the quarterback. Because a lot of the things that people are saying are lip service. GMs speak. GMs are politicians. They're going to give you what you want to hear, but they're not always going to do the actions that warrant them what they say, right? Joe Shane says, oh, we're going to do this, or we might keep James Bradbury, we might not, blah, 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 or we're going to trade him on this day, and he doesn't get traded on this day, or anything like that, right? So the whole thing is a moot point. You just got to watch and see. So for me, it's like, I do believe they believe in Daniel Jones. However, I also believe that they're trying to fix something that's already broken, and that may not be fixable. Because I'll tell you this right now. If Daniel Jones comes out and struggles, and everyone's like, oh, well, look at his rookie year. Yeah, I'll look at his rookie year. Against good defenses, he did crap. Against bad defenses, he looked good. And that's been the same consistent problem he's had. But the offensive line, yeah, I get it. But if we're talking about the offensive line in 2019, wasn't great either. I mean, they had Will Hernandez on that line. They had Will Hernandez on this line. The Giants were dumbasses and got rid of Kevin Zeitler. Whose fault is that? You want me to blame Daniel Jones, but whose fault is that? But then again, there's pocket presence. I'm watching highlights of old quarterbacks and games on NFL Network. And I'm watching Matt Hasselbeck and Ben Roethlisberger go at it in the Super Bowl in 2005. In the Super Bowl in 2005. And I'm watching these lines protect them, and the DBs are covering the receivers, and the quarterback is buying time when the defender is coming out. He's moving up in the pocket. He's stepping up. He's not just sitting there like a statue. Now, Daniel Jones has his moments, but he has more boneheaded moments than he does actual good moments. And you're evaluated on wins and losses. And Justin Herbert went out with a bad offensive line, okay, in San Diego. LA. I get caught up in that because they're older, right? So, in 15 games played, remember, he had 4,336 yards. Okay, basically annihilated the rookie passing record. Okay, annihilated that shit. Had 31 touchdowns and 10 interceptions as a rookie. Guess what he did in 2021? He threw for 5,000 yards, 38 touchdowns and 15 TDs. The boy was balling. Most passing touchdowns by a rookie. Most total touchdowns by a rookie quarterback at 36 because they counted his 5 rushing touchdowns. And mind you, he was sacked 32 times last year. He fumbled it 8 times and lost 1. Guess what he did this year? He fumbled once and lost it once. So in 2 years, he's fumbled 8 times. We come over to my man, Daniel Jones, who in his first year had 3,027 yards and 24 touchdowns. Like, oh, yeah, cool. He started most games in his rookie season 2019. That record is broken now. Obviously broken by Justin Herbert. Okay? He also was sacked 38 times his rookie year. Okay, 38 times. Justin Herbert was sacked 32 times, so 6 more sacks. He also had 18 fumbles in his rookie years and lost 11. Justin Herbert had 8 fumbles and lost 1. His second season, he regressed and had less than 3,000 yards, 11 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and he had a passer rating of 80. He had 65 rushing attempts for 423 yards. That was his best season. He was sacked 45 times in 2020. Terrible. So this year, in 11 games, and that was in 14 games, he was sacked 45 times. In 11 games, he was sacked 22 times. So let's put that in perspective right now, okay? That means they blocked somewhat better, and the ball was coming out of his hands a little quicker than this. But his passer rating was on par with what he was doing. 3 more games, right? He had to average the same amount of passing yards is 6.7. Right? Look at Justin Herbert. Herbert's having 7.3 and 7.5 yards passing. He has 38 touchdowns. He has a passer rating of 98.3. Daniel Jones' passer rating has been 87, 80, and 84. Okay? His average is 84.3. Herbert's average is 97.9. He has 69 touchdowns, 20 more touchdowns than Daniel Jones, and also 4 less picks. 4 less picks. And Daniel Jones has 36 fumbles. 36 fumbles. He had 7 fumbles last season. He lost 3. 7 fumbles last year. That problem didn't go away. And guess what? That was only 11 games. Who knows what his number would have been? These are the issues I'm talking about. His rushing attempts went down last year. Even though he averaged his best career percentage, which is what you see in the sack numbers, because the sack numbers are half the number of sacks he had in 2020. Okay, half the number of sacks. Why? Because Jason Garrett knew that he had to switch it up a bit to get this kid to get the ball out of his hands. So I'm not trying to say that Daniel Jones is bad. I'm not. That's not what this is about. This is just to show you and unveil the curtain that there's more to it than just Daniel Jones and the offense sucking bupkis, okay? I heard somebody on a podcast the other day said, well, if Daniel Jones and this offense are only going to make, 2 reads on the side of the field. 2 reads. If you can't read the whole field, you can't be on the field, okay? Justin Herbert, while he's a little older, you already know is a franchise guy. You already know. I know people don't like Baker Mayfield, and for good reason, I guess, right? For good reason. But to me, it's not just about, just being a franchise guy. Baker Mayfield brought a guy. Look at this. Daniel Jones badly overthrows one pass that was intercepted by Julian Love. Tyrod Taylor made a deep pass down the sideline to Robert Foster over a guy. I'm just saying, Daniel Jones still has issues. He has flaws. He has things that need to be corrected that haven't been. And just because Baker Mayfield has a bad rap doesn't mean Baker Mayfield's not a better quarterback. He is. And he's brought his team to the playoffs, and he's been in big games, and he's in an actual better division. I mean, you can say what you want about the NFC, they're in a better division, period. End of story. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear anybody talking about this bull crap like that. It's all bull crap. Because I am just sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? I'm sick and tired of losing. I'm sick and tired of the bickering between the fan bases, okay? It is what it is. We're a sucky team. We haven't done anything to warrant anything. People are looking at the schedule saying, we're going to beat this team, we're going to beat that team. At 4-13, you don't have the right to say any of that. Especially when your quarterback has less yardage than a guy who came in 2 years prior to him. Justin Herbert is on his way. On his way. Most passing yards in a quarterback's first 2 seasons with 9,350 yards. Most total touchdowns in a quarterback's first 2 seasons, 77. First quarterback to record 30 touchdown passes in each of his first 2 seasons. Most games with at least 3 touchdown passes by a rookie with 6. Okay? Daniel Jones' numbers got beat down. The only thing he has is longest quarterback run, 80 yards. He's the first quarterback with 2,500 plus yards and 400 yards rushing. You know what I mean? So you need to just relax about it, and let the chips fall where they may, and not worry about the record and get into the playoffs, because this is not about the playoffs. What's going on, Jeff? This is not about the playoffs. All right. And Jeff, as I was just speaking about Daniel Jones, Dave Brown, and Justin Herbert, and how the transition from from Judges to Dayball has been like Fossil to Reeves, right? You have the hard nosed guy, now you get into the players coach, you have a Duke quarterback. The similarities all galore. It's kind of crazy. And that first season that Fossil had was a great one, but he also had a solid defense. So moving on from Daniel Jones, because listen, he's going to be here, he's going to play, but I'm just letting people know realness sometimes sucks. The fact that Daniel Jones has 36 fumbles, 36 fumbles, 36. Let that number marinate, and he's lost 20 of them, and he's averaged over 7 fumbles a year, maybe more than that, right? 3 seasons. Almost 10 fumbles a year, a little over 10 fumbles a year. Okay. Justin Herbert, who came in and had a fumbling issue, went from 8 to 1. That's insane. Daniel Jones went from 18 to 11 to 7, and he played 14 games in 2020. He played 11 games here. So that means he almost had a fumble in every game this season. 3 of them were lost. People know Daniel Jones is a fumbler. They're coming for blood. He's got to correct that. And doesn't matter because people are like, oh, well, you make the offense and you do these little jitterbug plays and throw the ball to Wendell Robinson and Cordell, Kadarius Toney, which I love. And I love Kadarius Toney more than I like Wendell Robinson. I think, even though Wendell Robinson had a better career, I just think Toney's measurables add up better in the NFL. And I heard a rumor that Wendell Robinson actually looks smaller than his listed weight. And his catch radius is not that great. But I digress. We'll see him play. We'll see how well he does. My point here is, people, is you can't just you can be optimistic about Dable. But this ain't going to be fixed in one season. This ain't going to be fixed in a one foul swoop. It's going to be, it's going to be a process to which I don't know if Daniel Jones can handle, to be honest with you. I don't. The pressure is going to be bigger than it has ever been for this kid. Ever been for this kid. He can't have 7 fumbles in 11 games. That's a lot of fumbles. That's 36. So let's add up the turnovers in general. So he has, what are the interception numbers here? Sorry, give me a second. He has 29 interceptions and he lost 20 fumbles. He's contributed over 3 years, 49. He has more turnovers than he does touchdowns. 49 turnovers and 45 touchdowns. And if you want to add up, he's had 36 fumbles and 29 interceptions. I only counted the ones that were lost because those were actual turnovers. But so it would be 49 right now. And then if you added the 36 up, right, the 36 total fumbles, right, that would be almost 60, over 60 turnovers that he took 60 potential turnovers this guy could have had. That's insane. That's insane. 65 turnovers. Okay, 65. I'm counting the fumbles in general, and then the interceptions. Right? He had 65 opportunities to possibly give up the ball, but if you minus that, right? He has 49 actual giveaways, and 49 actual giveaways that he lost. So that means there's about 15 or 16 turnovers that were left on the floor. 16 of them that were left on the ground. That is not franchise winning. What franchise winning looks like is Justin Herbert, where you have 8, you go from 8 to 1 fumble, okay? From 8 fumbles to 1 fumbles. Let's look at another guy who people want to talk about. Joe Burrow, okay? Like him or don't, he's Joe Cool. He has less yardage than my man Herbert, but again, he also was injured in this first season. But he's looking like he's going on his way to be a good quarterback as well. We'll find out. You never know what the trajectory of these guys can be. But, you want to look at Joe Burrow and what he's done, his regular season. He had a pedestrian regular season through 13 touchdowns. You saw him struggle a little bit. He was a 2-7 record, right? Joe Burrow in 2 seasons has the same amount of wins as Daniel Jones in 3. He's lost almost the same amount of fumbles as him, but he went from 9 to 5 fumbles, and he went from 4 to 2 lost. So he's improving in that area. He went to 4,600 yards and also threw for 34 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. So he has 47 touchdowns, and he has a total of 25 turnovers. Again, that's half the turnovers that Daniel Jones has or has put in this position. But for me, thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Jeffrey. Let's put that up there so people can see this one. Smash that like button, people. Sub up, baby. Got 72 subscribers. Want to try to get to 100 by the end of the year. So I know that's a long time, but who knows? Anyways, so moving on from Daniel Jones, because there's other problems on this team besides him, is, I just want people to know that I'm good, support or not support, he's on the team. I may not like him, but he's on the team. And I don't believe in him when he's on the team. And if he shows me and shows out, great. I still don't think the Giants are going to pay him. Because a lot of these teams want to build while the quarterback is under that rookie deal. Because Justin Herbert getting paid. Sorry. And what they did in the LA Chargers, they trying to win right now. Before that 5-year gap is over. And it's not a bad thing because that's how they did it. That's how they structured these things. And that's why you can get rid of guys like Daniel Jones if you wanted to, because they're not going to cost you money. The thing about Daniel Jones is he was the best. He was the belle of the ball, right? He was the best looking one in a bunch of people who weren't the best looking quarterbacks, right? And if Kenny Pickett goes off and tears it up in Pittsburgh, and Daniel Jones is not here, we're going to wonder why we didn't pick him. Quarterback is a funny position because you're judged on many things. Like look at Deshaun Watson. He threw 4,800 yards and 33 touchdowns, but people still don't want him. I'm like, what are you smoking? The team stunk. It wasn't his fault they stunk. He did everything he could to win those games. A lot of the time, it's Daniel Jones' fault that we lost games. A lot of the time, it wasn't Deshaun Watson's fault that they lost the football game. And that's the difference in being a franchise guy and being just an average quarterback, which Daniel Jones probably will be. If you like Jimmy Garoppolo and you like Ryan Tannehill, well then, yeah, you're gonna like Daniel Jones. And I know, and let me move on from Jones because I'm tired of talking about that guy. He looked like a damn accountant. Should be a damn accountant. Oh, he's so smart, he talks so well. He crushed the media session. Give me a break. Go crush it on the field. The other thing I want to talk about is Saquon Barclay. We tend to forget about Saquon Barclay, but we hold out the hope that he's that same dynamic runner that he was in 2018, where he basically turned up the league again. Another comparison. Offensive rookie of the year, Saquon Barclay, and then our quarterback is nothing. So my point is that you want to build, this guy is going to be here. If I had to choose, if both Daniel Jones and Barclay have good seasons, I'm keeping Barclay over Jones. I'm not even thinking twice. Because Barclay can do so many things. Now, do I know if he'll be here? Probably not. I want Barclay to be here. I like Barclay. People think I don't like players because of the viewpoints that I have. It's not that I don't like players. I am keeping it 100 with you. I'm not trying to sell you a bag of shit and tell you that it's chocolate. I'm going to say this is a bag of shit. Do you still want the shit? Because that's what a lot of people do. They sell you the bag of shit, and then they sell you the bag and tell you it's chocolate. Really, it's shit or dirt, however you want to look at it. And I'm tired of getting shit and dirt. I don't like fertilizer. You want fertilizer? Go plant a freaking plant. I ain't got time for all that nonsense. I want to win, and that's why it brings me to Barclay. But it's funny because James Bradbury is one of our best players on defense. Whether you like him or not, he's one of the best players hands down. He's probably top 2 or 3 on the defense. It probably goes Williams right now, then it would have been Martinez and then Bradbury. Now you can argue Thibodeau and all those guys are here, right? But I'm keeping it 100. 100 times 100. I'm keeping it 200. You know, I'm keeping it double times 100 on y'all. If you don't like the realness, and it's true, You know, it's like when you paint something or you draw something or something that you don't like, and you ask your friends or your girlfriend, your wife, your spouse, whoever you loving, say, "Oh, does this dress make me look fat?" Or "How was dinner?" And you go, "Oh, it was great, honey." Meanwhile, you want to say, "This was a bag of crap." Why don't you say it? Because you want to hurt their feelings. Same thing with Daniel Jones, right? But it's like Barkley, who's had worse shortcomings than him, has to reestablish himself. Okay, because Barkley, I love Barkley and what he can do. And I think Brian Dable is going to expose Barkley for the best things that he are, right? I think Barkley's going to have about 1,000 yards and 500 or 600 yards receiving. I really do believe that. I think he's going to be a focal point. I think that's what Jason Garrett did when he came in. He built the offense around the best player, which was Barkley, and then he got injured. I think Dable is going to make his offenses more skill player friendly. He doesn't necessarily need A+ skill players to function properly. But I'll tell you what, if they had they had an extra guy out there, because look at Gabriel Davis. He was not a great player as a 4th-round pick. Came up big time in that playoffs. But what beat him? What beat them in that playoff game was a guy like Tyreek Hill who has that burner speed. And the defense was a fraud. But the point is, who brought him downfield? Josh Allen. There's so many things. They have Stephon Diggs. They have a tight end who Dalton Knox, who's not the greatest tight end, but he's functional. They had Beasley. They had Gabriel Davis. But if you look at Kansas City, they had 2 1,100-yard receivers. Everyone's like, "Oh, well, it's going to be the Kansas City offense. It's going to be the Bills offense." No, it's just going to be the New York Giant offense. If you look at their personnel, it doesn't tell me that they're going to be a passing team. It tells me they want to run the football. They got big guys across that offensive line. Big guys across that offensive line. Huge. Okay, let's go down the list of offensive linemen, and we'll show you what I mean. Thomas is 315. Evan Neal's 351. 351. Get that in your brain. Nowinski is 310. Mick Kenneth is 340. Feliciano is 325. Okay? Just looking for the other guys. So they have some big, beefy guys up front. They want to pass block? Yes. But I think they also want to run block too. And honestly, I think Daniel Jones' best ability is play action. Not sitting there throwing it a million times. Because he doesn't have the pocket awareness like these other guys. But we also need Barkley to step up. And I think you're going to see Jeremiah Hill, the UDFA that comes in. I think he's going to help out Barkley. I think he'll also be an X factor when the Giants are at 3rd and 3. They had no dump-offs. Remember, they went from check down Charlie and Eli Manning in Pat Shurmur's offense to now throw the ball all down the field. Now, why do you think Pat Shurmur took out Eli Manning? Because Eli Manning in 2018 was check down Charlie. And in 2019, Pat Shurmur was like, A, I might get fired, but B, Daniel Jones is throwing the ball downfield. He don't care. Now, we're sitting here and we're hoping that they score points. Remember, the other team, we got to stop them. James Bradbury, right now in OTAs, Aaron Robinson is your starting corner outside of Adoree Jackson, who, by the way, had 1 interception. Adoree Jackson, who, by the way, we don't know is going to fit in this Wink Martindale system. We don't. He's not a big corner. He's fast. I like to see Adoree play a little bit better. I think he'll get more interceptions this year. I do like the safety they picked up from Green Bay. The safety, let's just make sure I get his name correctly. I think it was Khalil. Oh no, Henry Black was his name. Look up Henry Black. He played. He's played some actual football snaps at the safety position. Not saying that he won't be that Julian Love will be starting safety. Not saying that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you look at Henry Black's stats, he's probably going to be more of a special teamers. But he had a combined 38 tackles last year and one interception, which means he played. He played for the Packers, whether you want to admit it or not. He played. That's more snaps than our starting safety now. Now, if you want to believe that Julian Love's the guy, fine. Julian Love's going to be the guy, and I agree with you. Maybe he is the guy. But this guy Henry Black, if he makes the team, will allow the Giants and Dane Belton to allow Julian Love to move around, to allow Julian Love to play maybe play corner if you need him to. And Darnay Holmes is your nickel. You want to get your best players on the field. The best players on the field. Doesn't matter what position they play. You want the best players on the field. That's how you roll in the NFL. Okay? So sitting here, and don't be alarmed, people, if the Giants struggle out the gate to get down this offense. Because it's one thing to play a defense every day that's controlled. Practice is controlled. They're not bringing blitzes and doing all this weird stuff and moving their offensive personnel around. They're running looks. If you never played football before, they have a team called a scout team. And the scout team gets cards and it lines up like that. And those cards are the basic plays that the other team runs. Well, guess what? The advantage is right now the Giants have no film out on them. So that's an advantage for them. But the Tennessee Titans have more talent overall. And you don't think Tennessee is circled on their calendar like, hey, man, we got a team that we can beat? You don't think Mike Vrabel is going to have that team prepared after getting beat down in the playoffs by the Bengals? Well, not really beat down, but upset by the Bengals in the playoffs? This team was the number one seed. And now they may not even be that next year. So they got to get off to a good start. And the Carolina Panthers, their weakness is their quarterback. But their defense is pretty good. And I know our defense is, I know people want to believe our defense is good, but they haven't stepped on the field yet. They haven't stepped on the field yet. We don't know who's going to be here because injuries haven't set in. Hamstrings haven't been pulled. Ankles haven't been rolled. And game plans haven't been made yet. And right now you got Daniel Jones overthrowing guys. That's not good. In practice, that's controlled. There's a lot that's going on with this Giants team. And I don't want people to think that I'm a Debbie Downer because I give it to you real. That's just who I am. I can't sugarcoat your shit. Like I said, I can't sell you a bag of shit and tell you it's chocolates. I'm going to tell you it's a bag of shit. Do you still want it? Kayvon Thibodeau would have had a sack against Daniel Jones. Like, I'm just saying. And, I mean, Tyrod Taylor is going to get sacked as well. So my point is that the defense right now is going to be better. You got to let the offense get under their feet, right? They got a bunch of these bums here, right? Michael Jacquet, right? He's a rookie, played 7 games with 2 starts, 18 tackles, 1 sack, a 3 pass defense, and a forced fumble. And he spent time with the practice squad and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I wouldn't be surprised, and this guy's a cornerback, and he's 6'1", 203 pounds. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets burned in the rotation. Again, a lot of these players that you see on this team have been brought up through the Dave Gettleman system. So a lot of these guys are going to be here as camp bodies, but it's all rainbows and butterflies until the real bullets start flying. I don't want people to just say, well, and ignore the rest of it. Because some people got this team winning 8 games, 9 games, fighting for the playoffs. And I'm like, we won 1 game in the division. You motherfuckers want to think that we're going to win, we got to go 3-3. Listen, if the Giants go 3-5, right, in the first half of the year, and they play 1 division game in that, Like Mac said it best. Mac has said it best. Mac, the Giants fan, stub up to him. He does a great thing behind the wheel. He does NFL NFC Roundup with me on Wednesdays coming at you this fall. It's going to be a great show, great show, great show. We got a ton of stuff going. He also does premium takes with me. Mac's got a lot going on. We got a lot of stuff going on in here. But Mac said it's true. I can't wait to see them on the field so we can really get an assessment of what we're really working with. And that's true. But the only thing is every NFL team wants to get better, right? Everyone was talking about, Marcus Spears, that blowhard, was talking about, the NFL needs a draft lottery, blah, 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 so they won't be tanking. Look, people don't tank in the NFL because you tank in the NFL, bye-bye. Look at Hugh Jackson. See ya. Never going to see a light of day again. You don't want to do that, especially if you're an NFL player, because this is the not-for-long league. You want to go play in the USFL? Go ahead. Which, by the way, it's some horrible football in the USFL. Horrible football. But, I digress. The point is until we get to September 11th, the week of September 11th, let me just make sure that the Giants schedule, I'm looking at it correctly for y'all, just so you know when the game is. I think it's the 11th, but I could be wrong. I don't want to give you incorrect information here. We don't do that here on the Hurry Up or NFC East Roundup or Premium Takes. We try to give you the best information we possibly can. Yes, so September 11th in Nashville, after we honor those that lost their lives on that infamous day, they go up and feed the Titans. Okay, then they have the Panthers, which, by the way, the Panthers aren't a bad defense. I'm looking up their defensive ranking for you guys right now. Let's see. Carolina's defense allowed 305 yards per game, which is second best in the league. But they also gave up 23 points a game, which was 21st. So, it's funny because that means they're going to be stifling, but the team didn't have great red zone, right? So now they get a couple players here and there. They change up their roster, and you never know, right? I know their quarterback right now is right now. The Panthers finished 2021 ranked second in total defense. Second in total defense. And mind you, they took a corner last year, I think, in their draft. In the draft. Carolina Panthers, man. Carolina Panthers. Just want to get their roster up here for you guys. The Carolina Panthers, maybe they were terrible last year. 5 victories. Got a lot of stuff here. I mean, Sam Darnold threw for 2,000 yards. Chad Hubbard rushed for over 600 yards. They had DJ Moore go for 1,000. They had their attack. They had their safety. I think Jeremy Chin go for over 1,000. Shaq Thompson had some good plays. I mean, they had some decent players in the Carolina Panthers team, right? It's not like they have a bad defense. They were second. Yes, they gave up points so you can score on them. But don't just sleep on them because, you think they're the Carolina Panthers. If they bring in Matt Corral, who I think he's going to be the starter, hands down. I know people are like, oh, it's going to be Sam Darnold. It ain't going to be no damn Sam Darnold. You and I both know it ain't going to be no damn Sam Darnold. They're going to give him the starter, but once he starts to fail, guess what? Corral's going to be in there quicker than you can blink, okay? They upgraded in the offensive line, okay? They upgraded the offensive line. Their defense, they have drafted players. Okay, rookies. Let's see what they got on this team. They got Xavier Woods as their free safety. I think they just signed him. Is that the same Xavier Woods? Is that the guy from the Cowboys? It is. It is the guy from the Cowboys. So he signed. He signed with the Carolina Panthers, which means they're upping their safety position. They have Keith Taylor. You know, J.C. Horn. There he is. They got the big time corner J.C. Horn, who he got injured last year. Okay, so and he was playing decent. They have Deontay Jackson, who played decently last year. All right, so now they have a decent team that they're putting together, right? They have Terrence Marshall Jr., who's a pretty good guy at LSU. They have Robbie Anderson. They got Rashad Higgins from the Browns. Okay, so they have some guys that they have brought in. If they can get out of their own way, this team might do some things. They may not win, but I can see them winning 7 games, right? You know what I mean? Like, I can see them winning some games. And so for me, and Jeremy Chin is a free safety. So they brought in Xavier Woods to help out with Jeremy Chin, who was their starting safety. Xavier Woods looks like he's going to be a free safety. They might interchange them and move him around, right? So we have no idea what's going to happen. We have no idea how they're going to look. So we can't just chalk up games and say, well, they're going to win because they're going to win. They're just not. Right? And then they go against the Cowboys. And how do I know the Giants aren't going to overlook the Panthers going into the Cowboys, especially if they beat the Tennessee Titans, which I don't think they will. Because I think a lot of people, I think they'll be competitive. I think they'll win a close game. I think the Titans will win a close game. And the Panther game at home, back-to-back home games, why aren't they thinking about the Monday night game? You got to beat the Panthers going into Monday night. If they lose and they start off 0-2, forget about it. Good night, the lights. Good night, the lights. Turn them out. And their first 8, they've got to be at least 3-5. At the very least, 3-5. At the very least, by Halloween, they have to be 3-5. 4-4, I would put them in the playoff race. 3-5, I would say you have a shot, but it's probably a long shot, especially with the second half of the year coming up. You can probably, let's say you win against the Texans and the Lions, you're 5-5 heading into Thanksgiving. Then you have the Cowboys, the Commanders. Again, you're playing in December 11th, and December 17th, the Cowboys, right? 4 back-to-back division games. And those games are all going to be for playoff seeding or playoff division or things like that to be in the wild card. You're still playing at that point. The Vikings still playing at that point. The Colts, them, they'll be still playing at that point. The only team that may not be playing is the Eagles on Sunday. And for all we know, there could be 2 scenarios. There could be the Eagles resting their team because they won the division, or they could be the Eagles coming out fired up because guess what? They need this game to win to be the division champs. So this team has a lot of work to do. Let's let it play out. Let's let this team build something. Let's be excited that there's a new regime. Let's be excited that this team is going to have a chance to do some things. But let's also take into the fact that the schedule is not ironclad. Okay, the schedule is not the end-all be-all. There are going to be some games on here where you're going to be like, damn, the Giants beat that team. And then there are going to be teams where the Giants lost to that team, right? Because it happens every year. And when you have a quarterback that has fumbled 36 times and has over 49 turnovers combined in his 3 years and 45 touchdowns, you're not going into any game saying you're the best team. And I want the Giants to prove it. Everyone thinks Tennessee is going to be a game where the Giants are going to have a chance. And I'm looking at it like, yeah, they may have a chance because Tennessee may not know what they're going to throw at them. But they also, to me, don't have a chance because that team has a better offense and a better defense than us and has been doing it. I'll tell you something right now. Coaching staff matters. Coaching staff matters. experience matters. It really does. Experience really matters. And when you have this experience, it it trumps everything because guys are not going to be afraid when they're down a game. But I'm telling you, Tennessee is not going to want to let this one slip. They know what happened last year. They have a team that is, in their eyes, a beatable team. And yes, while it won't affect them conference-wise to lose this team, they play the AFC South. So if Indianapolis and Tennessee are the same record, and it goes and they're the same division record, and it goes to conference record or NFC's play, you don't want to be the team that lost to the Giants. You don't. So again, take it all, be excited, be optimistic. Hell, you want to say 11-6? I'm not going to stop you. I don't believe it, but I'm not going to stop you. That's not me. I don't want to rain on your parade as many people think that I do. Again, I don't do that. I don't care what you think. I'm telling you how I think. You agree with me? Great. You don't? Great. If they end up better than I say, great. I'll eat crow. I'll admit I was wrong, and we'll move on from there. But for me, and there's been a lot of roster turnover in the last few days with a bunch of inexperienced, cheap guys that have little experience on the back end. So for me, I can't just sit here and tell you that the Giants are not going to be a good team. I can't say all I can. The Giants are going to win 7 games. Hard 7. That is not bad. Winning 7 games is not a bad thing. Going from 4 to 7, and it puts you in that realm of being able to move up in the draft verse to get your quarterback, to get the guy that you actually want. Not some guy that's inherited from another coaching staff that failed. This is what I'm talking about when people, talk about players and things like that, and in this team. You need to just be aware of that. Okay, just understand it. There's going to be ups and downs this season. You also have a rookie head coach. I know everyone wants Brian Daboll to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, but there are going to be decisions being made. Fossil made them. Coughlin's made them. They've all made mistakes in coaching. Let's not be as boneheaded as Pat Shurmur or as bullish as Joe Judge. I'd rather have Brian Daboll fail and make mistakes now in his first year than do what he did with Joe Judge, where we thought this guy had it all, and then his mistakes came back to bite him in the ass. Let him make his growing pains now. Let him make his 4th and 2 decisions now, because it's not going to be easy. This is the NFL. It's never easy. That's why the Giants have cut 3 coaches in like 10 years. Coughlin, McAdoo, Shurmur. They all had their flaws. Pat Shurmur, McAdoo, and Judge all did the same thing. They succumbed to the pressure, and they couldn't handle when the team unraveled. And that's straight facts. And let's see what Brian Daboll has in store for this team. Let's see what Joe Schoen can do. They're trying to right a ship that has many holes. And they're going to get off. If they get off to a great start, great. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. But there are going to be games in December that the NFL has done, which there's going to be divisional games and wild card games being played. Now, if the Redskins are a booty squad, they won't be fighting. But they didn't make moves to be a booty squad. The Eagles didn't make moves to not win the division. Right? The Giants, of all the teams in the NFC East, the Giants made the bargain basement shopping moves. We're excited about a guy who gets paid veteran minimum. We're like, oh, Ricky Seals-Jones. Oh, he's going to be a starting tight end. Booty. Daniel Bellinger probably has a better shot at starting. I'm just saying. There's a lot going on. And mind you, next year, a lot of players come off the books. So we want to have draft picks. We want to be able to build a team. We have more money next year. We don't want to tie it up into a quarterback who we're not deeming as the franchise. I'd rather get a guy in the draft who has a low cap number and then bring in these pieces that we need. I don't think we'll bring in a left guard, but maybe we'll bring in a center finally. And so now your starting O-line in 2023 will be Thomas, Azudu, the center that's brought in via free agency, your right tackle Glowinski, and Evan Neal. But now you got a guy who's going to be here long term. And then you want to draft behind those guys in case they get injured, traded, or just fall off. And you're not looking scrambling, because that's what happens with the Giants over the last few years. They've scrambled to fill holes, and then they've gotten crap, right? Like, I always look at Dave Gettleman's mistake last year. When those guys retired in July, Looney and Fulton, you should have been on the waiver wire signing guys immediately. Not waiting until 3 preseason games and a week before the season to pick up Billy Price. He should have already been in here if that's the guy you wanted. And then you gave up one of our assets to get a guy who was worse. I don't think you're going to see that this year. But I also don't think, I can't count on guys like Sterling Shepard. I can't count on guys like Kenny Galladay who've been injured or had subpar play. I can't even count on Kadarius Toney. There's going to be a lot of factors that go into this season for the Giants to be in that 9-win range. And I'm just going to expect that there are going to be injuries. I'm going to expect our quarterback to do boneheaded things, because that's what he's done the last 4 years. That's what this team has done the last 4 years. And I'm saying, because Barkley and Jones are back, I can easily see this team winning 7 games, no problem. I can't see them winning 9 games. I see 7 games, and I think it's going to be tough down the stretch, more so than people think. I think these teams that we're laughing at, Detroit and Houston, and looking at them like, ha, 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 we're going to beat them, are also looking at us like that. But hey, folks, this has been another edition of Hurry Up. I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back very soon for another one of these to get you up to date. But look out for a lot of stuff coming down the pike with me. Like I said, again, if you like what you heard, subscribe, ring that bell. You'll get notifications every time I go live or every time I upload a video. I have premium takes with Mac the Giant Fan and Jeffrey NYG 3285. There he is right now. So up to that guy. Logan, who's always been a loyal supporter, he's here. So up to his channel. He does a lot of editing videos. He's going places with his editing, and he does some highlights. And then, of course, there is my dude, my partner in crime, the NFC East Roundup host. I'm the co-host. I'm not really the host. He's the main liaison of the show. Mac, the Giants fan. He has Behind the Wheel. Get on with all his stuff. He does a great beer mugs and bear hugs for wrestling. He does a lot of good stuff. He's on Premium Takes with me. That airs every Sunday. We'll see what's coming this Sunday for you. We've got a good jam-packed show. But the NFC East Roundup, we're going to be doing a lot of stuff in the offseason to catch you guys up on what's going on around the NFC East. But come the fall, get ready, because we're bringing the heat. You think Kayvon Thibodeau is going to have sack numbers? We got sack numbers. See us. But anyways, folks, have a great weekend. Have a great week. Enjoy life. And remember, you always got to give me a break.